This is the Lamex Stadium in Stevenage, the home of Stevenage Football Club, now a League One side. 20 years ago when I first came here, they were way down the pyramid of football. And when I came to watch the team on that particular occasion, I remember it well, it was rainy, the pitch was muddy, virtually nobody around the ground had shelter. It was a bit of a dump, quite frankly. But look at it now. A stadium that has a capacity of around about 7,000, shelter all the way round, a wonderful pitch, and a team that really is going places. Today is all about memories here. This is Borough Memories Day. And what does that mean? It means that we've got fans, staff and players coming throughout the day to record their memories of the rise and rise of the club over 50, 60 years, hopefully. And they're also bringing their memorabilia, old programmes, old scarves and shirts, photographs. That's part of the history of club that we want to collect today on Borough Memories Day.
This idea of us all turning up on a particular day and trying to capture a particular moment in time and a particular set of memories that are held by a group of people. And what's really exciting about it is that oral history is often done by interviewing one person, often one quite old person, with this idea of saving memories before they die. And what's really nice about this project is we've got a whole range of people talking about things that mean something to them in the very recent past or in the long past. And we're getting a sense of what it means to a group of people and a community of people, rather than just what it meant to one person. So I've now interviewed about 4 people, and certain things start to sort of ring very frequent amongst the group. And you can see how certain events, memory has sort of settled around certain events. And there's also a bigger story emerging where people feel that perhaps football's changed recently and it's not quite the way it used to be. So you can get a sense of what people are talking about to one another and how they're putting that together. 19th century Britain, it's fantastic to see how the past and how history means a lot to people now. And you get a real sense of how vivid it feels and how they feel they're part of a really important story that they want to tell. So as the day's gone on, I've started to add a new question. I've started to say, this is going to become an archive for the future. What message would you like to leave to people looking at this or listening to this in the future? And that's because one person said that to me. He kept saying to the recorder, if you're listening to this in the future, this is what I want to say. So now people so I want to ask them this now. They now start to say, I want them to think, I want them to think how important it is to support your local club, how important it is to do this and this or that. So there's a real sense that the day unfolds. You can't predict what's going to happen. You find out. It's very exciting just to see what emerges. And so I must admit I knew very little about football before today. I know a little bit more, perhaps, than I did, but I'm getting really excited now about how we might use this method to do other projects. So we could turn up anywhere where there's a group of people who have some sense of connection or of memory and put stuff together. And one particular person, first person I interviewed today, was really, really touched, and he kept saying to me, this means more to me than anything. I just want everybody to remember this. This means so much to me. And he was sort of his eyes were full of tears at that point, and you realise then, it makes you really it sort of puts you in awe, really, of how powerful this memory can be.
Play. And today so far I've interviewed a former chairman of the club who was instrumental in bringing it back from the dead when they were in financial difficulties and having to play on a public park, which was really interesting. I then interviewed probably Stevenage's most famous post-war manager, named Paul Fairclough, who took the club from obscurity really to on the pinnacle of the league success that they have now. And I've also interviewed some fans who, of course, are the lifeblood of the involved in. And I think it's a project that could be used with other football clubs.
Being able to record the community's memories is something that's important for the long-term preservation of local history. There is, of course, a question about how accurate memories are, and whether memories really represent history in a scholarly fashion. And that's fair enough, but they still represent people's views, and they represent people's understanding of their community and their understanding of the places in which they live. And it's really important for them to be able to express those views. And I think one of the nice things about this project is that young people will be able to hear about the experiences of footballers and fans from a long time ago. And I think footballers certainly have a big influence on some children's lives. And it would be nice for them, I think, to be able to contrast the life and career of a professional footballer in the 1950s or the 1960s, for example, with the kinds of careers that professional footballers have today. The guy who I interviewed, his first wage as a professional footballer was £25 a week. And when
he's earning 180 or 200,000
yes,
a week. So.
When you compare that to what footballers are getting paid today, it's just incredible to think that this guy was working 2 jobs. So he did his footballing, and then he had another job in order to support himself and his family.
I mean, I spoke to one of the LDD fans, and he told me that football wasn't the same as it was.
Yeah.
Like, football's not the same as it was before, because they say they feel that football's more about glamour and about fame and money.
Yeah.
Whereas those days it was, it was more about, trying to build up a reputation for the locals. From judging by speaking to those people, did you get the same vibe? Did you honestly feel that football was different?
I certainly felt that football was different, or that certainly they perceived it very differently. I think there is an issue when you're talking about memories, that people tend to look through rose-tinted spectacles, especially at things that are long past. And that's one of the issues that historians who use oral testimony have to try and negotiate. But on the other hand, you definitely get the impression that there was a really good sense of community, especially regarding some of the past teams. And the supporter who I just interviewed said that actually the struggle up to Division 1, as they're in now, all the things that they've gone through over the last 20 years or so, actually was a really good time. It was really interesting to be part of the club over that period, and to be supporting them both through the good times and through the bad times.
Hello, my name is Anne Judge, and I'm a volunteer for Hertfordshire Archives, which is a big department in County Hall in Hertfordshire that stores all the archives of Hertfordshire. And about 2 years ago we launched a website called Hearts Memories to record the memories of anybody in Hertfordshire, and you can see this on the website www.heartsmemories.org.uk. And we were contacted by the University of Hertfordshire to help them with the recording of the memories of Stevenage Football Club. So we came along to help, Jeff Cordingley and myself as volunteers. So we've been helping with the scanning of documents. Now hopefully some of this will appear on the website, Hearts Memories, but I'm not absolutely sure how it's all going to work out in the end. Thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, the story really starts with taking up my fellowship at the university, and it was a fairly loosely defined job. It was to some extent okay, I'd do some teaching, but I could sort of choose what I might like to get involved with the acceptance of my prof. We were just sitting there one afternoon, and I was saying, well, it's initially a 3-year contract. I want to make sure by the time it's over, one of the things I've done is something very concrete and very definite, some project, not just sort of endless teaching and seminars, which is fine, but something we can say, yes, we did that and I was involved in it. And first of all, we've been working the last 2 years on an oral history of de Havilland Airfield, which of course was on the site of that particular campus of the university. And then in the same conversation, I dropped in this idea. I said, what if we parachuted a group of students and staff into Stevenage Football Club, and on one day they created an instant oral history? And I think the Prof, Owen Davies, said, yeah, interesting. And I heard no more about it because the de Havilland project took over. And then about 5 months ago, the Prof said, you know that idea? What idea? The one about Stevenage. Yeah. It was just a matter of making a couple of phone calls. The club said, fantastic, let's do it. And it's all been put together, such as it is, in the matter of a few months. The important thing, though, is that, well, it's first of all important that it provides, in part, training for students, developing an area of history that they won't have considered before. But it's also a model which we hope we can apply way beyond this particular project. The idea of doing an instant oral history. It could be that you go into a business that's about to close down and you secure forever the memories of people who were in that company as it's closing down. You get a bit of the story of the company, you get the feelings of people who are being made redundant, all that sort of thing. Might be an old people's home. You just spend a day in an old people's home. Just think of the memories you could gather from way, way back. So this is not just a nice celebrity project. This has got plenty of very, very nice publicity, but we'd be quite happy if we did a nice little quiet project with a bit of publicity, perhaps. Doing something in a sense much more historical than simply collecting fans' memories. That's not doing down the project, is it? I don't think so.
No. And how has the day gone from your point of view? Or it's still going?
Well, it's been absolutely exhausting and it's been chaotic, but that's how one would want it. I don't want it to be quiet, I want it to be noisy. I think the only way ultimately to answer that question is in the sense of involvement of the people that have come. The first thing I would say is that especially the students have been doing the interview, and of course the staff as well, but especially the students, several of them said to me how nervous they were before the day, and as far as I can see, they have just flown. And they will have grown in one day in a way that they would take months and months and months to grow. There's nothing like it's learning to ride a bike, in the famous phrase, and I can just see the confidence oozing in them, and I hope this means that they will want to do more of this, and that's a lesson to me. There's quite a lot of students have done a bit of oral history, and then they do an interview or two, and they don't necessarily feel that comfortable, and they sort of give it up. If you've done 7 or 8 interviews today, you get over that hurdle of being self-conscious and you get it done. As far as the people who've come along to be interviewed are concerned, well, you've only got to hear the buzz that there was this morning, and a room full of people looking at memorabilia, old programmes, old scarves and shirts and photographs and all the rest. I mean, that's what really, really made it, the sense that the university offered something to the club, offered a place where we could bring so many things together, the memories and the memorabilia. I mean, from that point of view, it's been wondrously successful. But, these are just a few dozen people, all we could have space for. There's another 3,000 collections of memories out there. Just think what one could actually create if everybody made a contribution.